Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for around about the next 30 minutes. Today we're looking at quite a basic feature of Sage 50 accounts, one of the core areas, and it's to do with the nominal ledger, and it's the nominal activity. So we'll be looking at the report, but also the activity against the codes themselves. So just again, trying to cover that basic so you have a good understanding of it. Now, just before we get started, just in case anyone is new to our webinars, we'll just quickly run you through the little bit of housekeeping, just so you know what you can expect. As usual, I will be sharing my screen. Obviously, we've got some slides to give us a little bit of structure to the presentation this morning, but I will be sharing my screen, so I'll be working live in the software. During today's session, if you do have a microphone and you've enabled it, you will find it's muted. That's done automatically for you. You can't unmute yourself. So any questions for me this morning, you'll just need to pop them into the questions panel. To access that, you just need to click the little speech bubble icon, which is on the toolbar down the right-hand side of your screen. Give it a click, it'll expand the panel. You'll have access to that box in the bottom right-hand corner. That's where you can start typing your comments and your questions. Remember to click send, otherwise I won't see them. You have that option available throughout, so do keep them coming. Anything you're not sure about, maybe your sound cuts out here and there, or maybe you get interrupted, just if you can, just pop your comment or your question in there, and I'll try my best to pick those up. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, I know some of you do like those. They aren't detailed by any stretch of the imagination for what we cover. You will find the detailed information available from our help centre. But if you do want them, they are available. Two versions, there's the full color version, and there's also what we term the print-friendly version as well. Now, this webinar is being recorded. We always record the sessions, and a link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. You'll receive that around about an hour after we finish. And that will include, as well as the link to the recording of today's session, if you need a recap, you've got access to our upcoming webinars, so do check that out. Currently it runs up to the end of next month, our timetable, so plenty of sessions to go at. And it will also include a link to our previous recordings as well, so there's well over in excess of 100 topics available there now. So again, if you've got a bit of spare time, you want to develop your knowledge, you never know, it might be an area or you think you know already. Have a watch of the recording, see if there's any little tips you would pick up there, here and there. So as I say, that's around about an hour after we finish. Right, okay, let's have a look at what we're covering in this morning's session though. So quite a short agenda for today's session. Going to start with a basic introduction. So looking at the various aspects. We'll then just get stuck into some demonstrations, which is what will cover the majority of this morning's session. Pick up on a few common questions. I've sort of identified two. However, obviously there are some of the other questions that you would likely to be asked, they would just be included in the standard demonstration anyway. But we'll highlight the two of the most common questions relating to the nominal activity. Just at the end, I'll explain more about the additional support, and if there are any outstanding questions at that point, I'll try picking those up as well. So do bear with me, it's just myself running the session with you all this morning. So let's get stuck in then. So the nominal activity. Well, there are several ways to view that activity. And the activity, when we're talking about that, basically it's just the transactions that have been posted to that specific nominal code. Now, depending on the nominal code and the transaction type, you may not have actually specified that nominal code. It may be like the VAT element, or if you need to put, it will post a double entry to the debtors control account. But largely speaking, it's whatever's posted to that nominal code. So all the debits and the credits, and it does talk about the debits and credits as opposed to positives and negatives, because it is the nominal activity. Now, there are a number of different ways to view the activity against a nominal code. Now, I've listed four. I'll come on to that last one in a moment. But you can go into the nominal codes ledger, into the record, and then you've got the activity tab. We'll see these in just a moment. Now, so some of these slides will include buttons as well, which will take you off to our help center if you want more information about whatever it relates to. So we got one there relating to the activity tab. You can, of course, just go into nominal codes and you've got the activity icon on the toolbar at the top. So rather than actually going into the record, essentially the one within the record and just clicking activity at the top, it essentially gives you the same information. We then come on to the report itself, a couple of versions of that report as well. We'll be discussing that in a few moments. So 2 versions of those. And there's also the transactions list. Now the transactions list, I've put a question mark next to that one because I always get asked about that one. Well, could I just use the transactions list? And the simple answer to that one is, well, I say simple, it's a sort of. You can filter the transactions list by nominal code, but it might not necessarily be what you're after. So the VAT element of a sales invoice, for instance, or if we take just as an example, if you post a sales invoice to nominal 4,000, just as an example, let's say it's £100 plus VAT, it's the nominal code within the transaction screen would be 4,000. That's what would be listed. In fact, I'll just quickly show you that for a moment before we get stuck into the nominal record. Just quickly share my screen. Should see my desktop at that point. So if I pop into transactions, and let's just knock that filter off for the time being. So we got a number of transactions, and I just posted a number of transactions before sort of we started the webinar there. So you can see these ones for 4,100. Now, if I'm looking for sort of the sales nominal code, the sales, let's say the sales tax nominal code, which by default is nominal 1100. If I type in 1100 at the top and then do a search, find some transactions, but it doesn't find those invoices that I've posted at the bottom. Now, the reason it finds this one, just in case you're wondering that, it's just because that is actually the number 1100, whereas these two are actually posted to that nominal code. So although I've typed in the relevant nominal code that some of the entry would be posted to, it doesn't find it on this list. But if I was searching for 4,000 as an example, or I'll do 4,100, because that's the nominal code I'm going to concentrate on today, you'll see that it does list because that's what's specified in the nominal code column. Now, if you're not that familiar with double entry, so the debits and credits and posting journals, that type of thing, it's something, I suppose the nominal activity will help you to a certain extent, but it's obviously from an accounting perspective, it's something that you would need to look into to develop your knowledge a little bit. So although I had that on the slides, I'll go back to the slides for a moment, that you potentially could use the transactions list, it's not a great option. But I always get asked that, so I thought I better include it. But it's the other 3 options that we're going to concentrate on. So we'll get crack on with having a look at those areas. So demonstration wise, let's have a look at those 3 key areas that we mentioned. Back to my screen. I'll just knock that quick search off. And we go into nominal codes. So the first option that was mentioned was nominal codes, and then going into the actual record itself. So I'm just going to pick on one. So we'll go down to our sales section, and I'll pick on this nominal code again. And if I just double click it, it takes me into the record itself. Now, if you've attended our management report sessions, you'll be familiar with the actuals column. You've probably seen this screen a few times when we've discussed things like the trial balance, the profit and loss, the balance sheet, that type of thing. Maybe even budgeting, you might have seen it. But it's the activity tab we're interested in, so this one on the left. So if we just give that a click, and it will give me a list of the transactions. So in this case, I've just got the 5 transactions on the history of this account. So the activity is essentially what is it's showing. So these are the 5 transactions that have been posted to this account, which just have 5 invoices. Obviously, some of your accounts will have hundreds, if not thousands, of transactions. So that's essentially what it shows accessing it that way. I'll come on to the detail of what it shows in just a moment. We just close out and we click the activity tab at the top. Sorry, the activity icon at the top, I should say. You'll see it brings up this screen. So obviously you don't have the options down the side, but you've got the same options along the top. You've got the same information displayed as well. Now, if you needed to, while you're in here, you can view a transaction. So if you just click a transaction and click view, it's the same option that you would have available if you clicked a transaction within the transactions list. So it lets you view the information. So you can see things like the reference and the description and when it was posted, etc. So you can see posted on was today's date. So you can view that. You can edit it, which brings up the same screen. Now the difference between these two, view, it means that you can control who can and can't edit transactions. So you might give someone view access, but not edit access. So that will all be controlled via the access rights option. So again, it lets me view that information. I can make changes and save the changes if required. And then you've got the delete option as well. Now, depending on your type of transaction and whether it's got a breakdown, you may have the hide or show detail option available when you're viewing the activity. So not for these transactions, just single line transactions, so it's not going to show in this instance. You've got the print list, you've got the send to Excel. So if you're just wanting, rather than run the report, if you're in the relevant nominal code that you're after, you want to view that activity, then nice and easy. You might just say, well, run a report, I'll just send it across to Excel. There it is. I can do my own analysis at that point. Let's close out of that. You've got the options to choose what it is you want to show on this list. So you've got some sort of quick, what I would term quick filters as well. So you've got the relevant sort of months of your financial year. So if I choose April only, it pops in the date range for me. It is based around your current financial year as well. So if my financial year was set to January 24 to December 2024, it's going to be the relevant month of that financial year. So coming past those months, you've got obviously other ones as well. You've got the first half of the year, you've got the second half of the year, you've got quarters, you've got the full financial year, you've got the prior year, future, and you've also got custom range as well. Now via the custom range, you've got things like the transaction number range. You can choose to display only specific transaction types if you would like to. Obviously some nominal codes, such as your bank account, for instance, it may have a much greater variation. I've only got the invoices listed on this specific account. And then you've got your date range as well, which you can apply as well. So you can filter it down if required, just to really get at the information you want, which is rather than do that information in Excel. This will just give you these boxes here, just a summary of basically what's being selected. Right, in case you're wondering about that brought forward balance, it's just because of the date range I've got specified. So I've got the current month only. So brought forward balance, if you do see that when you're looking at this screen, obviously it means that you've got a date range applied, and it's just a summary of all the transactions prior to the start of the date range. So I've got that custom range. If I just set that back to, where's all on here? Do I have an all option? Actually, I'll just use the financial year. And then I've got the transactions listed again at that point. So they're brought forward. There is no balance prior to the start of my current financial year, which you wouldn't expect against a profit and loss code such as your sales. So I don't have a brought forward balance in this instance. So again, it doesn't matter whether you view that via the activity icon at the top or you double click and go into the activity tab at the side, you've got pretty much the same information. Obviously, you've got this tab down the side when you're going into the record itself. Next, we come on to the report. So the nominal activity report, a very common one, this one. Right, now I'm just going to take the highlight off that account. We'll come back to selecting records in a few minutes' time. But within the nominal codes window, if we go into reports, and we've got the nominal activity tab or the folder on the left. So we select that and there are two reports. Let's start with just the basic nominal activity though. So it tells us there, detailed transaction activity for all nominal codes, including those with no transactions. So that's the difference between those. So if there's no transactions posted to a specific nominal code, if you don't want those to be included on your report, so you would use that second one. We'll have a look at that one a little bit later if we've got time. So anyway, just preview that one. So criteria-wise, we can specify a nominal code range. We can specify a date range. Now you'll notice it runs from 1980. That should be the earliest date that you can enter in Sage. Now bear in mind, if you've got hundreds of thousands of transactions, if you don't specify a date range and you just accept it, so it's going to run from 1980 up to the current date, then that could be a very, very lengthy report. So try and sort of narrow down what it is you're after. Now, obviously, you've got this little date picker tool. You tend to have that on whenever you're prompted to run a report, or when you run a report, you're prompted to pick a date range. That little date picker tool will pick out the most common date ranges that you're likely to run the report for. So if I just choose this financial year to date, you'll see it runs from 1st of January 25 to the current day. You can run it for a transaction number range as well, and we can choose the option to include brought forward. Now, I'll not include brought forward just at this stage, and I'll just run that report. Now, this is what it looks like. Now, you'll see in this instance, I've got loads of records that say no transactions. Actually, I'll zoom in a bit, so try and make that a little bit clearer for you. So 0010, the nominal code, there aren't any transactions posted within the period I've specified. I've got one here, 0020, again, one of my fixed asset nominal codes. There's a balance on the account, but there's no history within the relevant date range. So if I just continue scrolling down, you can see obviously that changes quite quickly when we get to the likes of your debtors control. So it starts listing the transactions at that point. So again, it shows you similar information. We've got things like the transaction number, the transaction type, the date of the transaction. Now that's the date of the transaction, not when it was posted, it's the date of the transaction. You've got the account reference, so the account that it's posted against, the reference itself, so that's the ref column when you've keyed in the transaction. You've got the details, department number, the tax code, you've got the value, and whether it's a debit or a credit. And that V and B, just in case you're wondering about that, it relates to whether it's VAT reconciled. Now you'll see a number of symbols in those columns. So VAT reconciled, and the B is to do whether it's bank reconciled. So a dash would indicate it's not relevant to that type of reconciliation. So in this case, a payment on account, an SA, it's an N, it's a bank transaction, but as such, it hasn't been bank reconciled. Whereas an invoice would not appear against the bank, so it has a dash. So dash means it's not relevant for that type of reconciliation. An N would indicate it's relevant, but it's not reconciled. And an R would indicate that it is reconciled. So those are the three symbols that you're going to see in these two columns here. Now, we do have an account balance at the top and a history balance at the bottom. I'm going to go into those in a bit more detail. I'll go back to that smaller account to try and explain that one in just a couple of minutes. Now, as usual, you've got the same options along the top. You can print it, you can email it, export it. So you might want to save it as a, even this one, I haven't got that many transactions on mine, and it's a 21-page report. If you've got hundreds of thousands of transactions, imagine potentially how big that could be. And because it's a nominal activity, it doesn't just mean, if you run the full nominal activity, it doesn't just mean that each transaction is listed once. If I enter an invoice, the net value would show against the nominal code I've posted it to. So let's say 4,000. The VAT element would go to my sales tax control account, 1,100. Sorry, my mistake there. It would be 2,200, I should say. So 2,200. And then the gross value would go against my debtors control account, which is 1,100. So that one transaction, there's three elements to it: the gross, the net, and the VAT. So it's going to be listed potentially 3 times in the various different nominal codes. Right, let's just close out of that. So obviously that's a big report potentially. Now, if I want to make my selection, let's say I just want to run it for, I'll just run it for these 2. So I make my selection beforehand. If I then go into reports and choose the nominal activity, now you see the criteria looks different this time as well. It doesn't ask me for a nominal range this time. So it reacts, have you got anything specified? So if you're thinking, well, where is it? I want to specify a nominal range. That's why you've got something highlighted. It might not even appear on your visible list. It might be further down or at the top and you've just scrolled down a bit. So ideally, if you want to run it for everything, click clear before you go in to run the reports. But if you want it for narrow it down, only run it for a certain nominal code or a range of nominal codes, make that selection beforehand. Right, I'll just do this financial year again. I will include brought forward. And again, it runs the report. So let's zoom in and we can see it. Now, I might as well, while we're at this point, it's one of the common questions. What's the difference between the account balance and the history balance when you look at this report, other than £100 in this case? Well, your account balance is, we've got £500 here. Now, if I just close out of this for a moment, and we can see on my nominal codes list, we've got £500. That's not a date sensitive value. So I've actually got a future dated transaction in this one. So if I just have a quick look at the activity, you can see I've got a transaction here, which is dated the 5th of May. So that's included as well. We've got 5 transactions. Again, I've tried to keep it nice and simple, each for £100 each. So £500 in total. So when we're looking at this list, we've got £500 and also just on the main nominal code screen, £500. It's not date sensitive at all. It's whatever the balance is for the sum of the transactions that have been posted to it. But when we go into the nominal activity report, let's run it again. Let's preview it. I'll just accept it because I haven't got much on this account. And you'll see this time, the account balance is still showing £500. So this one isn't date sensitive. If you're looking for a balance as at a particular point in time, you need to look at the history balance. Now, one thing to bear in mind with the history balance is it's based around the transactions that are listed and the brought forward balance if you've included it. So to give you an example, if I run the report again, but I run it from, let's say, the 1st of March to the current date. So we'll just run it again. So we'll do up to this month as well. So I'll just do today's date, which is the 23rd. And if I don't include the brought forward transactions, just OK that. In this case, it finds the 2 transactions only. So account balance is still 500. It's not date sensitive. History balance is based on what has been found on the account, so what's listed, so £200 in this instance. However, if I run this report again, and we'll do it exactly the same, we'll do last month, and we'll just advance that to pick up today's date. This time I want to include brought forward transactions. OK that. And this time you'll see the history balance is now 400. We've still got the 2 transactions, the individual transactions listed, £100 each, but the brought forward transactions, so the transactions prior to the date range that we specified, they add up to £200. So it includes that in the history balance. So if you are comparing your nominal activity balance to the likes of your trial balance, remember the trial balance will run up to the end of a particular period, so the end of a particular calendar month. If you're just running the one from the toolbar at the top of the nominal codes window, that's based on the monthly balances. So if I want to compare that, the trial balance, to, and I want the breakdown, then I can easily get at that information. And actually, that's another way to get at this report as well. So if I was running a trial balance, let's preview that. We'll run it up to the current month, so April. Just OK that. Zoom in a bit so we can see it a little bit clearer. And if I scroll down to the 4,000 area, so we'll see the nominal code we've been looking at so far, £400 up to and including this month. Doesn't include the May transaction because that's future, it's beyond the end of May, beyond the end of April. So £400, and it's drillable, remember. So if you did attend the management report session, you'd be familiar with this. If I just click on it, it drills down, opens up a new tab, it runs the nominal activity for me, and we've got the date range there at the top. Again, we'll zoom in so you can see that. So to run it for that one nominal code only, 4,100. The trial balance, we're running it for the current year, essentially. So it's popped in the date range for us. Now that would include a brought forward balance on the report if there was one. But again, you wouldn't expect to have one for a profit and loss nominal code. So your sales, your purchases, your direct expenses, or your overheads. If it was a balance sheet code, then you would expect to have one. So it shows the same information. So that's another way of getting at that report. Now for selecting your records, I want to quickly mention this one. I always like to mention it because there's a couple of different styles for selecting records in Sage. So if I highlight that record and then I just click on this nominal 4,000, it highlights it. If I click on it again, it takes the highlight off. So this is what we term the Sage selection style, where you're highlighting it with like an on-off toggle. It means I can just randomly click and it highlights it. If yours doesn't do that, so what you might have is the other selection style, which you find the option within Tools, Options, and then you have an Environment tab at the top. And by default, I think it's this one that's selected these days, Windows selection style. So if we just OK that, and again, you can chop and change between them. That's something that's specific to your PC as well, the selection style. Go back to nominal codes. And the way it works now is if I highlight a nominal code, and then let's say I click on stock, you'll see that the highlight just follows me round. So I just randomly click, you'll see that that just follows me round on the list there. If I want to select multiple records, I've got to start using options on the keyboard as well. So if I wanted to select office equipment down to stock, I can just press the hold down the shift key and click on the stock. It highlights everything within the range. If I then click onto prepayments with no keys held down at all, again, the highlight follows me round. If I wanted to do that one, so let's do that again. So holding down the shift key and clicking on stock highlights that range. Let's say I wanted to add petty cash to that selection as well. What I now do is I hold down the control key, click onto petty cash, and it highlights that in addition. So those are two useful keys. Shift is to help you select the range, control is to help you select individual records. But again, if I accidentally click on, let's say, debtors control account with no keys held down, I've just lost that selection. So you can pick and choose. Have a go of both methods if you haven't already. I think because I've used it so long, I'm so used to the Sage selection style. So again, it was just found within tools and options, environment tab, loads of other interesting little options in here as well. Colors list, view. So if you want to set your initial, whichever screen you want to view when you first come into your software, you can choose that. So if maybe you always work in the nominal codes, or maybe your bank accounts is the most important thing, you can choose that. So when you open Sage, it'll go straight into that ledger for you. I think by default, it's one called Home, which is that one there. It's the one you're probably used to. So you can set that if you want to. Anyway, it was the option was on the environment tab, Windows selection style or the Sage selection style. Just OK that. And then I'm back to being able to just randomly click onto records to highlight them. If I want rid of them, I can just start removing the highlights, or I can click clear and that will remove them as well. Right, let's quickly pop back to the slides. We've sort of covered the demonstrations that I wanted to. Let me choose the right option. So common questions. That one we just covered that one. So how do I select multiple nominal codes before running the report? Make sure you make your selection. The filter option, where you filter your list, not really much use within the nominal codes list, other than maybe to hide accounts that have a zero balance, for instance. So have a go of those list selection styles that we've just covered there at some point. Obviously, it applies the same style of highlighting your records for your customers, suppliers, etc. The second question we've covered as well. What's the difference between the account balance and the history balance? So remember, the account balance, the one at the top, it's not date sensitive. It will agree with the one that's on the nominal codes list. Again, not date sensitive, it's just a value of all transactions that are being posted to that record. The history balance will be the one that you're after. So it's the balance of the transactions or the values included on the report itself. So if you're trying to compare or find out what the balance was on an account at a certain point in time, that's the one to go for. Other reports to quickly mention that may be of interest to you, just while we've got a minute spare. Obviously, you've got your trial balance at the top. Links in quite nicely with what we've covered today. The other one that people get confused with a little bit as well is when you go into nominal codes and reports, and if you go into the day books report, this one here, the Daybook Nominal Ledger. Now what this is it will generate basically a list of journals. So journal entries only, your journal debits, your journal credits that have been posted via the journal entry option. It will pick up those only. If we just quickly run it so you can see it. So it's not picking up any invoices or bank payments. It is journal debits and journal credits only. So it's a bit like the transaction history, but picking up journals only. Obviously, if you need to, you could run that for a specific nominal code. Right, if you've got any questions, been very quiet on the questions front this morning. Please pop them in. I'll try and pick them up. Obviously, I can run through an additional demo here and there if necessary, but pop your questions in if you do have any. Remember, if you want a copy of today's slides, you can do that via the handout option. And also, you'll get a link to the recording in around about an hour's time. It will be included on the follow-up email that gets sent out. In addition to what we've covered today, loads of supporting information in our help center, nice and easy to access either from in your software, just press F1. It'll bring up the help relating to whatever screen you're looking at, or if you just want to open your web browser, go to sage.co.uk/help. That will help you access that as well. So you find support guides, webinars, videos, options for getting in touch with our support team, loads of information in there. Now, just as a little advert for some of the webinars we are running, Copilot is one of the big ones at the moment. It's the one that you're probably hearing lots of information about. You'll see it advertised left, right, and center at the moment. The idea of Copilot, if you've not really come across it yet, or you might have heard about it and you think, right, what is it? Get yourself signed up for one of our webinars. We've got one this afternoon I think that's at 3 o'clock today, but we do run them on a weekly basis. So the idea of Copilot, it's like almost like an AI-powered digital assistant. So it brings you top-level information, helping you to manage your debt, manage stock, helping you to monitor your business performance. So yeah, a lot of this information is already available to you. It means having to go and run reports. With Copilot, it provides that information for you very easily. I think that's the feedback we've received so far. It makes it so easy to access that information. So you'll get top level information that you can drill down on if you want more detail. But if you are interested, the link will be included. It's just on the main registration page. Get yourself signed up for one. Again, it takes about 40 minutes or so to run through that one. You'll see what it's all about. Copilot, there'll be further enhancements available in version 32, whenever that's going to be released. Not too far in should be in the near future, I think, but no definitive date for that one. But get ahead of the game. See what it's capable of now, and then obviously when the enhancements come along, you're just learning the differences. So you're breaking Copilot down. So you're not just bombarded with this, lots to learn here, probably a bit too much. So see what it can do now, and then obviously as it is developed and you're provided with additional features, then much easier to take on board and get the best from it. If you are interested, as I say, link will be on your follow-up email. Brings us to the end of this morning's session. Apologies for the slight overrun. Many thanks for coming along. I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, just trying to cover the core of Sage Accounts. If you've got any thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share with us about the webinar or anything else to do with webinars, if you can take a minute to complete that survey as you leave. Always great to read your comments as well if you've got any. And it's always really very interesting when with it being the first time we've run this particular session. Is it what you're expecting? Would you want more? Are there any other areas you'd like to see covered? Let us know. Your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour's time. Now, I don't have any outstanding questions at this point. If you do think of any, do have a look in the Help Center, get in touch with our support team, or even just reply to your webinar emails. If you need a quick response, though, do get in touch with our support team. That's the fastest way you're going to get an answer to your query. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. Do get yourself registered for some of our upcoming sessions. We've got loads on this week, loads next week. At the beginning of next month, we will be running our management reports badge series of webinars as a repeat. So if you just missed out on your digital badge, please get yourself signed up. Opportunity to just maybe have attended the right number of sessions plus one of the quiz sessions to earn that digital badge. And hopefully we'll see you on those sessions soon. Many thanks.